most AI products don't actually fail right at launch. It's much more subtle than that. They tend to die this slow, quiet death over the next 6 months. The model starts to degrade, and honestly, nobody even notices until it's way too late. So today we're going to dive deep into that really dangerous phase after you've already deployed, what I call the AI post-deployment death spiral. I'm sure you've seen this happen before, right? Your brand new AI model, it scored like 95% accuracy in the lab. It totally aced the demo. But now that it's in production, a key metric, maybe it's user engagement, maybe it's conversion, it's just down a few points. And then it's down a few more the next month. There are no big 5-alarm fires going off. It's just a slow bleed. And this is exactly where promising AI products and, honestly, the careers of the people who build them go to die. All right, so how do we even begin to tackle this invisible threat? Well, the first step is definitely not to panic and just frantically retrain the model. No. The first step is to put on our detective hats. We have to diagnose the symptoms properly because, with AI, the root cause is almost never what it first seems to be. And this is such a crucial point for AI products. Think about it. A massive software bug? That's obvious. The system crashes, alarms are blaring. But the slow degradation of an AI model, that is so much more insidious. It fails silently. One bad recommendation here, one flawed prediction there. It's so easy to just dismiss it as a random blip, right? Until you realize you've completely lost the trust of your users. Okay, so here's a really practical, actionable framework for that diagnosis. Step 1, clarify the metric. What does down even mean? Is user satisfaction actually down, or is it the model's precision score that's dropping for a really specific task? Step 2, rule out the external stuff. This is absolutely critical for AI. Has user behavior changed, maybe creating what we call data drift, or has the meaning of a key concept shifted, causing concept drift? And then step 3, segment your data. Is the model failing for everyone, or is it just for, say, new users in Brazil, or for a specific type of input data it was never trained on? Pinpointing the where is always the key to figuring out the why. So once we've diagnosed the symptoms, then we can start hunting for the root cause. And you know what? A lot of the time, the problems started way, way before the product was ever deployed. Those cracks in an AI product's performance, they almost always begin with a flawed foundation, with strategic mistakes you made right at the beginning during the initial problem framing. A really strong foundation for any AI product is built on this very idea: hypothesis-driven development. It's not about just, building an AI. It's about having a clear, testable hypothesis. Something like, we believe that by using a predictive model to identify our at-risk customers, we can reduce churn by 10%. See how that frames the entire effort around a measurable business outcome and not just some cool technical capability? So what happens when that foundation is weak? Well, you get teams building these technically impressive models, but with no clear problem to solve. Or they define success as model accuracy instead of actual business impact. A classic example is building some super complex forecasting model that users can't interpret or just don't trust, so they ignore it. The model might be accurate, but it's totally useless because the team got obsessed with solving a technical puzzle instead of a real user problem. And this quote just absolutely nails the issue. So many failed AI products were, let's be honest, fantastic demos. They were great at promotion. But long-term success? That's not about the wow factor of your AI. It's about whether it is reliably, consistently solving a real, painful problem for your customers, period. All right, let's move on to our second trap. Because even if you have a solid foundation, an AI product can still be slowly poisoned by adding new features and capabilities for all the wrong reasons. This is exactly how a focused, genuinely useful tool turns into this unpredictable, confusing magic box that absolutely no one trusts. And in the world of AI, this is a really dangerous game. Picture this. A huge enterprise client demands that you retrain your global model on their specific, private data just to improve their results. Saying yes feels like you have to, right? But it could totally bias your model for everyone else, and it creates a complete technical nightmare to maintain. Oh, this one, but our competitors already have it. This is basically the justification for every rushed ChatGPT wrapper we're seeing out there today. Look, chasing competitors is a losing game, especially in AI. It just leads to shipping some generic, undifferentiated feature that doesn't even align with your core product vision, all because you felt pressure to have an AI story. Okay, this one comes from a place of fear, the fear of an idle data science team. And it leads to creating busy work. Instead of finding the next high-impact problem to solve, they'll spend months chasing a tiny 0.5% accuracy gain on a model that's already giving you diminishing returns. That time, it's almost always better spent on new research, cleaning up data, or building out those critical monitoring tools.
And this one, but we can just make it optional. This is basically death by 1,000 parameters. I mean, exposing model settings like creativity or temperature to users who have no idea what those are, it seems like a harmless compromise. But it is not. It's basically a confession that you haven't really defined the product's purpose. All you're doing is pushing complexity onto the user, and that leads to a super confusing and inconsistent experience.
And here's the result. This is the end game of all those bad decisions. You don't end up with a powerful, versatile AI. Nope. You get an unpredictable product that nobody fully understands. It tries to do everything for everyone, and as a result, it does nothing reliably. And in the process, it erodes the single most important metric you have, user trust.
Okay, so we've seen the traps. The big question is, how do we avoid them? Well, it requires a pretty fundamental shift in mindset for any AI product manager. You have to go from being a reactive firefighter to being a proactive architect. Honestly, this is the perfect metaphor for managing AI. I mean, if your whole day is just consumed with handling PR crises from biased outputs or desperately debugging why the model's performance suddenly tanked, you're a firefighter. And that means you failed at fire prevention, which is building the systems to monitor and maintain your model's health before it ever fails.
Let's really break this down for AI, okay? The firefighter, they react to alerts that the model is drifting. But the architect, they design the MLOps pipeline that automatically detects that drift and triggers a retraining process. The firefighter ships a model and moves on to the next thing. The architect creates the AI product health dashboard to monitor that model for its entire life. It is a completely, fundamentally different way of operating.
And this brings us to what might be the single most crucial skill for any AI product architect. And it's not what you think. It's not about your ability to build more and more complex models. It's about having the discipline to just say no.
This right here, this is the essence of AI strategy. Your strategy is not defined by all the cool AI projects you start. It's defined by the hundreds of seemingly good ideas you purposefully decide not to pursue. Saying no to a use case that has biased data, saying no to a feature that you can't even explain, and saying no to launching without a solid post-deployment monitoring plan. And this is why it's so hard, right? Your AI product doesn't just become untrustworthy because of one single bad decision. No, it happens with every small, lazy yes. You ship the model and you just kind of assume it's done. You don't see the danger coming. You only recognize the decay and the lost trust when you're looking back in the rearview mirror, wondering how your once brilliant model somehow became a liability.
So I'm gonna leave you with this question. I want you to really think about the AI projects you're working on right now. What is one yes that you've given recently, maybe to a new use case, a data source, or a feature request, that was really a step toward more complexity and more risk instead of a step toward clarity and trust? Answering that question honestly, that's your very first step from being a firefighter to becoming a true AI architect.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.